Hey everybody, it's John Brown, the one and only Bandana Gamer, coming to you today with a pickups video. It's been a little bit of time since my last pickup, so I'm just going to say these are winter 2021 pickups. I'm not sure of the exact time frame. And man, these are some doozies. I've got some stuff that have been added to the collection that I'm really excited about. Two Holy Grail items, which doesn't really make sense. There's really only one Holy Grail, but one I'm really excited. It's not a game itself, but it is a little bit of a piece of video game history. And then again, the other is a game I've just wanted and is a fairly hard game to come across. So let's get into it. So I'm going to start off with a couple of things that are video game connected, not necessarily games themselves. And I'm going to put pictures of those up because they're in special places at this point and I don't want to mess too much with them. The first thing is Rat Boy Collectibles showed me a action figure he picked up, and I saw it and I just had to have one for myself, and it led me to get another one. And that first action figure is the Doomacorn action figure from Todd McFarlane Toys. Awesome figure. A brilliant figure, really well put together. And of course the Doomacorn is a special skin from Doom Eternal that makes the Doomslayer pink and has a unicorn head and rainbow stuff going on. Really funny figure, really loved it, really well made, and it was because of getting that one I fell in love with McFarlane Toys and picked up the Spawn action figure from the Mortal Kombat 11 line. Because Todd McFarlane Toys did the Mortal Kombat toys, and with Spawn, his creation being a DLC, they put a Spawn figure in there, and the Spawn figure is awesome. You will see Spawn come up a couple of times because I am in a crazy, I think what I've called the angsty teen phase of my quarantine stuff, and first started with like getting really deep into Power Rangers, and now I'm like in my angsty teen years and picking up Spawn stuff left and right. I've picked up a bunch of comics. And really glad to have this figure in the collection. It is a really cool fiction. Really cool figure, well made, and just a pretty thing. And is on its stand next to Doomacorn and looks awesome, as you'll be seeing in the pictures. Now, the big thing and my Holy Grail item that I've wanted for so long and was hoping to pick up at a convention, but of course conventions stopped being a thing for a bit. Hopefully we'll see some more of them in 2021 and 2022. But I'm a fan of the Retronauts podcast, and you should definitely check that out. It's deep dives on video games and video game subjects. And one of the things they talked about was in their Mega Man podcast was that the artist who designed the Mega Man 2 box art, the infamous Mega Man 2 box art, had started going to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo and selling and signing prints. And I heard about that and I was like, oh, I got to get one of those one day. The Mega Man 2 box art is crazy. And, for purists, it doesn't look anything like what Mega Man's supposed to, but in its time, it's amazing and has such a nostalgia feel for someone my age who loved that game as a kid, and just remembering that box art looked amazing. So I actually realized conventions wasn't going to happen, and there's probably not any time in this near future I will be going out to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. I wrote the artist, Mark Erickson, I believe is his name, and he's done a lot of different video game covers. A lot of Tinjin's stuff is his, especially the Tetris they did, which is another amazing piece. And so I wrote him and paid him for it, and he sent me a signed print. And I'll make sure I'm putting up the pictures, a signed print of that Mega Man 2 cover. And I'm just so floored to have it. I'm definitely going to be framing it and hanging it in the game room. I'm just so thrilled. Just because it's such a, like I said, such a little unique piece of video game history. I mean, that box art and the story behind it was just kind of like Capcom of America had Mega Man 2, brought in an artist and said, hey, do some box art. And they couldn't figure out what he was shooting. They drew the wrong doctor, but they put it together, and it to me is an iconic cover, and I'm just so thrilled to have it. It's signed by the original artist, signed by the person who drew it. That's just it's so cool. Just a cool little thing to have in the collection. So I'm really glad to have that, and that's my big nerdy Holy Grail item. And so let's get in. Oh, do have one other video game adjacent thing. A lot of people have got these. the Super Mario 35th Anniversary Pin Set 2. I got that. And so there was the first pin set that you got for doing the missions and ordering the All-Star Collection. This is for ordering the 3D World Collection. You've got the Sunshine Pin, Galaxy, Galaxy 2, Super 3D Mario, Super Mario World 3D, Odyssey, and then the big 35th Anniversary pin set. Like, that pin is huge. Was not expecting this to be as big as it is, but it's a really cool pin set. It goes with the other one really well, so I'm glad to have that. Oh, and I have one more video game adjacent thing. The Final Fantasy conductor of the original games, Uematsu, I believe. After he would do a chiptunes score for the games, he then had the permission to go out and record a symphonic album, since the systems themselves could not do that kind of sound. And Final Fantasy IV is one of my favorite games, and he took his score and experimented a little bit more with it than he had in previous recordings. And he did this album, Final Fantasy IV Celtic Moon. Make sure I get the title, it's not too shiny on there. But it's Final Fantasy IV music done in a Celtic style, and it's a really cool music, and it's an official release. And I've been looking for this for a long time, and finally was able to find it. And it's beautiful. I love this soundtrack. Love, love, love Final Fantasy IV and the music that goes with it. Now, let's get into actual game pickups. So, this is, just a basic Xbox One controller. The cool thing is comes with the charge and play kit, which I didn't have for my Xbox controllers. I'd been using batteries because I'm a terrible human being. But I found this at Goodwill, and that's what that purple sticker is. And the charging kit was new. It seems that the controller was new. The box had been opened, but it didn't seem like anything had ever been used in it before. The battery pack was still wrapped. The cord was still wrapped. And so it was $25. And so to me, it was basically picking up a brand new Xbox One controller, which works on my Series S and Series X, for $25. Could not pass that up. Really glad I picked that up. Next, I am going to do a gift that were sent to me. And I have a good friend. He is my good theme park buddy. Chris with a K on Twitter. It's Kris with a K is his Twitter handle. And he is a Game Boy Color enthusiast. Really, really loves the Game Boy system with a deep-seated passion. But he doesn't really like collecting. He likes getting games, playing through them, and then just kind of getting rid of it. And he had a stack of Game Boy games that he had picked up. Some I think he had sent, so he sent me them back. So they're back in my collection now. But he was really generous. He sent me several games. So the first one, and I think this is one I sent him, is the Beauty and the Beast board game adventure. It's kind of Mario Party, but with Beauty and the Beast from Disney. Race driving on the original Game Boy, which is really cool. They tried to do polygons and 3D effects on the Game Boy. Doesn't come out real well, but I give them credit for trying. This was actually a really cool one because he had picked this up a couple of years ago when we were in New York for a little bit, just because he was curious what it was doing. And it is a travel guide, and it's kind of just a little almanac and travel thing of different things about different countries. So that was pretty cool. The original Game & Watch Gallery, Mickey's Racing Adventure. I played through this one. It was really odd. I didn't know what exactly to expect, but it plays a lot like when you get to the races, which is kind of a long thing to get to. It plays a lot like RC Pro Am, and which is also a rare game. So this Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, which is kind of a top-down shooting game. Toy Story Racer, another mascot kart racing game. It tries to kind of do a perspective like Mario Kart, more akin to Mario Kart. Also doesn't work super well. And this is one I also sent to him, the Donkey Kong port on the Game Boy Color. So that was really nice and really appreciate him. But he also sent me, knowing my loves and passions, he sent me something from his childhood, that he had recently dug up, and I was really sweet to him because I was like, "Oh, you found that? Let me send that to me and let me borrow it to do a video on it." But he's like, "No, I'm just going to send it to you, and you can have it," which was very, very sweet of him. And that is the Tiger Electronics DuckTales. I am a huge Uncle Scrooge and DuckTales fan, and it's been a long time since I had played some Tiger games. Put it on. It's easier to play than I was expecting it to with my new modern video game sensibilities. But man, the sound chip on this is so high pitched. I called my mom and apologized for ever playing these in the car because I can't imagine how distracting they were to the driver. But this is a fun little game, and you play as Scrooge, and you're picking up coins and dodging the Beagle Boys. But really, really sweet gift from a friend, and love me some Uncle Scrooge. Let me go to my 3DS pickups, and we'll do those really quick. First, I picked up, and I found this for $5 at Five Below, Yokai Watch, which RPG from a really good RPG maker. I know it's kind of a beloved franchise or cult franchise for a lot of people, but $5, heck yeah! And of course, these two, you know why I picked these up. Power Rangers Megaforce. Haven't played that one just yet, but I did play Power Rangers Super Megaforce. It's okay. There's definitely better Power Ranger games out there, but you can unlock different representations from the seasons that precede this. And also, I really love the design of these Rangers because they come from a Sentai that was pirate based, and I just think they look really cool. So, do my one Nintendo 64 pickup. I have a bunch of stuff, big stuff that comes from trades, and this is one of the big ones that I got in a trade. This is a game I've wanted for a long time. I've just seen it right there, but it Conker's Bad Fur Day. I'm not a huge Nintendo 64 collector, but I've always wanted to have a copy of Conker's Bad Fur Day. I was able to pick this up in a set of trades. Really glad to have it. I have the original Xbox version as well, and Rare Replay. So I think I have all of the versions of Conker's Bad Fur Day that have been officially released. So now I've got some modern games and a Wii U game. If you watch the channel, you know I'm going for a complete North American Wii U set, and the one game I was able to find that I didn't have this month was Rise of the Guardians on the Wii U. So I'll be checking that out. That might be a Wii U game of the month coming up soon. Let's see, let's do Nintendo Switch next. I picked up G.I. Joe Operation Blackout. 8-Bit Glitch 79, friend of the channel and a friend of me, has been deep diving a lot of G.I. Joe content and games, and so this dropped down in price. So I was like, a little shooter on the Switch might be fun to play around with. And of course, as I showed you, I got the pin set, Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. I've played through this. It was a really quick playthrough. And I dabbled with it on the Wii U, but I never fully beat it here. Didn't 100% it, but I beat that and beat Bowser's Fury. It's okay. I think there are far better 3D Mario games out there. Almost all of them. This might be my least favorite 3D Mario. Now, that being said, a 3D Mario game is an awesome, awesome game. It doesn't innovate in ways that I feel like the series had always done before that. So, good game. Glad to have it, and glad to have played it through. Looking at some of the things I picked up for the Xbox Series X, I've heard nothing but good things about the Hitman series, and so I found the first Hitman, the definitive edition, for fairly cheap, and wanted to pick that up. Picked up Insomniac's, what I would assume is Insomniac's last game that ever appeared on the Xbox, because I believe they've been bought by Sony, but that's Song of the Deep. This was actually published by GameStop and was exclusive there. But it's kind of a Metroidvania in a sub. You play as a young woman who is searching for her father who was lost at sea. And so excited to play through that kind of cool retro title. And this was on sale, and I've been wanting a first-person shooter, so I picked up Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. It was a GameStop deal of the day. Got the case with it, and so I believe it's my understanding is this is one that is just the Xbox One assets and things like that. So, but I'm okay with that. I don't think, and it will. I would really pick up on the difference in the assets. Maybe the frame rate. That's the word. Crazy day. Got more pickups to keep going through. And finally, I've got one. I generally kind of try to stay away from picking up games just because they're rare. I generally want things in my collection that I'm going to play or have some kind of interesting story. And this one to me has a really interesting story, and that is Revenge of the Bird King for PlayStation 4. One-man development and publishing team was kind of locked up in limbo for a while as to whether they were going to actually ever going to get to do any kind of actual legitimate release of this game. And it's a 2D platform, a couple RPG elements, really cool game with it being a one-man team. I picked it up on Switch as a digital copy, but the physical has some stories. There's internet conspiracy theories. Metal Jesus is Satan and whatnot. And so I picked that up from the publisher, and glad to have it in the collection because it's a cool story. Let's keep moving on. Let's see. Okay. This and this bunch. Actually, I'll pick this up too, these two. So this is, once again, little stuff from the trade. Nothing too fancy here. I don't know if you'll even be able to see this with light and everything, but Madden Football on the 3DS. One of the last Madden games to ever be on a Nintendo console. Just wanted a little handheld football game. Picked that up. As you've learned in this video prior, I'm a Mega Man fan, so I found Mega Man ZX on the DS for fairly cheap. I have that in the Mega Man Zero ZX Legacy Collection, but I like to have the actual versions. And a fighting game, I picked up another game this is one that I had as a kid, so it's kind of like, I'm glad to have it back, but I'm also like, I wish I just held on to it. And what I had was the original cover that was a super rare release in its time before Dragon Ball Z ever blew up and was popular before Toonami. They released one Dragon Ball Z GT game in America and then later re-released it with a different cover, but I was able to find the different cover and pick that up for the original PlayStation. Also, this month, picked up some really solid RPG titles, and that's what this stack is here. A lot of this came from trades, like I said, and first one is, this was brand new and sealed, Yakuza 3. Love the Yakuza series. Love, love, love the Yakuza series. If you're not playing the Yakuza series, you should. If you love beat-em-ups, if you love RPGs, if you love silly movies, this is the series for you. So many cool stuff. If you like Grand Theft Auto, open world kind of games, elements of that here too. Cannot recommend Yakuza series anymore. They're on, I think everything now is on both PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and Series X. And they just released upgrades for PlayStation 5 for the newest one, Like a Dragon, that were already released on Xbox. And Like a Dragon is awesome. So, Yakuza series is amazing. Picked up, it's not in an original case, but wanted to have a copy of it, and that's Breath of Fire 3. Good solid RPG from Capcom. The first game I ever owned on PlayStation was Wild Arms. I got a PlayStation because I wanted to play Final Fantasy VII when it came out. And so, in the big trade that I did, I was able to pick up Wild Arms 2 to go along with Wild Arms 1 that I now have. And so I don't know anything about Wild Arms 2, but I look forward to playing it. Once again, another solid RPG. And this one, I don't know if I can. Oh, I can real quick. I'm opening it right here because I don't want to offend Captain Algebra, because he's very solid on games are meant to be played. And that is a philosophy that the Bandana Gamer subscribes to. But this comes, yeah, I picked this up from Amazon. I think these apparently are still in print and fairly easy to get attain a copy. And this comes from conversations with David Castillo on the Move Over Kids podcast, or It's Dangerous to Go Alone podcast on the Move Over Kids YouTube channel, which is something I'm on a weekly basis. Sunday nights at 8, check out Move Over Kids YouTube channel for our weekly podcast. But he has gotten huge into Shin Megami Tensei, and since I found this and he's been raving about the series so much, I figured I would pick up Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. So, and since it is a brand new PlayStation 2 game that I just opened, here's the disc, here's the instruction manual, and like I said, I believe I ordered that on Amazon. Alright, so let's get into my two... Oh, I got to grab one out of the console itself. I went through a phase that I've already talked about a little bit. And so the first game that I picked up in that phase, I think I had this and sold it when I did my Great Purge. And this is the first game I've bought another copy of that I sold in the Purge. And that's cool. Like, I feel good so far that I didn't really get rid of anything I really wanted. And I picked this up mainly because it popped up in the search for these games that are in my hand, and that is Jim Lee's Wildcats. This is based on the animated series that was based on the 1990s Image comic book by Jim Lee, who is now the publisher of DC Comics, and of course is mainly known for some amazing designs on X-Men. And to go along with that, I picked up Spawn, another Image comic adaptation into games. This game has a bad rap. I played around on it. There's some definitely frustrating, hand-breaking wall scaling, but some of the beat-em-up parts are actually pretty fun. And the graphics, oh my goodness. If you love the comic, the graphics on this are really, really good and really, really faithful. And it makes me love the Super Nintendo even more than I normally do, just because I feel like cartoons and comics were able to come to life in such a real way on the SNES. I also picked up Spawn on the Game Boy Color. It's okay. It's a very simple game. There's some things that feel kind of cheap. It's not great, but it's by Konami, and the color palette they use is really cool. There's also graffiti in the background for the band Korn, and it's all over the walls on the city. Like, you see the word Korn all over the place, which is due to the fact that Todd McFarlane did the cover art for their Follow the Leader album. But I mean, it is so gratuitous. Like, that's the only graffiti that's apparently ever done in this version of New York, is people writing the word Korn on walls. And to go along with that game, I picked up Spawn Armageddon for the GameCube, and from what I am told and reviews I read, this is the best Spawn game. And I played around with it, enjoyed it some, have not hated it. Alright, so we're going to get into my other big random kick that I got on, and I'm not sure exactly why I got on this kick, but I did, and I picked up a bunch of games in this series, and so let's go through those. And it's Mortal Kombat. So I picked up Mortal Kombat 3. Excuse me, Mortal Kombat 3 for the Game Boy. Mortal Kombat 2 on the Game Boy is a much better game. I don't know what happened in the development, but it's a fun little game to play around with if you're just killing time on the Game Boy. A better one that I picked up for the Game Boy Advance is Mortal Kombat Tournament Edition. They did a version of Deadly Alliance on the Game Boy, and then they released later, like a year later, Tournament Edition, which they couldn't have the whole roster from Deadly Alliance, so they put the rest of the roster and released another game called Tournament Edition. I'm really amazed how well they translated Deadly Alliance to the Game Boy Advance. It's 3D fighter, but the fighters have a 2D feel, but you can walk around in multiple dimensions. It feels really good. The fatalities are kind of weak, as known to be for Nintendo. But it's a fun game, and I definitely recommend picking that or Deadly Alliance up for the Game Boy Advance if you love Game Boy Advance. Going down in quality, Mortal Kombat Special Forces. This I'm fairly certain this is actually I can verify it. It is a reproduction case, and that's cool. I just wanted something to look good on the shelf, and with a PlayStation game, it's really easy to tell when they're reproductions because that's not an instruction manual there. So I got this game, Mortal Kombat Special Forces, just because I was on a Mortal Kombat kick. Rough game. Rough game. I remember this came out and released as new as a $20 game, and was supposed to. Something happened in development. It was supposed to be a much grander game where you could play as Jax, Kano, or Sonya, and you just end up playing as Jax, and Sonya is essentially the Princess Peach character, which is really disappointing because Sonya should be rescuing everybody. But you know, it's a neat, interesting little piece of Mortal Kombat history. And of course, if I got that, I got Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. This is a game that has some nostalgia value to it, and I'm going to do a video on why it has nostalgia value. But I think this is the first game where I learned games could be bad. I think in my young child mind, I just always assumed if I didn't get a game or I didn't like it, it was because I just didn't understand something. But it was playing this, I was like, this doesn't work. This isn't good. There is no game that I think on paper should have been a knockout of the park like this game, and it falls so flat. It is a beat 'em up with RPG elements in the Mortal Kombat universe with mine and probably a lot of people's favorite character giving backstory to Sub-Zero, setting up connections with Mortal Kombat 4 as well, and it just plays so poorly. I think they were trying to make the original game's engine do something that it really could not do. There's the combat's awkward because to change and who you're facing, you have to hit a button. There are elements where you have timed running that just doesn't make any sense, and then there's platforming that's just terrible or nearly impossible. And I just want to say, if you can beat this game, my bandana is off to you. I applaud the commitment to get through this. But man, there's a skill there that I do not have. But I got this. I had the 64 one that I got rid of because the 64 one does not have the full motion video sequences that this one does. And that's what makes this one something that I had to have in the collection because there were some really cheesy cheap Sub-Zero full B-movie style full motion videos to progress the story versus the N64 just has some still frames and dialogue boxes. This one takes full advantage of the amount you could have on a disc. So that's in the collection now. Continuing on with that theme, I picked up, actually we'll go with this one first, Mortal Kombat Deception for the PS2. I think I also got Deadly Alliance, but I already put the Deadly Alliance box on the shelf. I had Deadly Alliance and Deception on the original Xbox, and I had Shaolin Monks and Armageddon on the PS2, so I just decided to kind of consolidate and get them on the same platform because that's sometimes a weird little tick with me. But Mortal Kombat Deception, I love this era of Mortal Kombat, the changing fighting styles, the 3D environments. Love them. Mortal Kombat is a great fighter and has these really distinct eras, and they all are good. So I don't know if I would say this is one of my favorite eras, but because I don't know if I could pick a favorite era, but love Mortal Kombat Deception. This I think is probably the best one of that era. And then to go along with that, I picked up for the PSP Mortal Kombat Unchained, which is Deception. This is a beautiful, beautiful game on the PSP, and it plays brilliantly. My jaw dropped when I first actually got into combat. The only downside of this game is that the load times. I know I'm desensitized to load times now in the modern era with faster hard drives and SSDs and whatnot. But even without that, this game takes forever to load onto the PSP. But if you're sitting around just and don't have access to the TV and want a fun fighter for a handheld, this is awesome. This is just truly awesome. Um, like I said, I also picked up Deadly Alliance on the PS2, and I picked up, and I think it's in my DS. I picked up Ultimate Mortal Kombat for the DS, which is a really, really good version of Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and Puzzle Combat, and it looks great on the DS. So we are getting to my final pickup. This one came from a trade, and this is a game I did not expect to ever get. And I was able to get it because it's physically in bad shape. The board is great. And so I was trading some stuff and I put that out there and I was like, it would get a major game off my heart list that I didn't think I could do. And then I was like, well, I can make it, I can do some stuff and get it to look better on my shelf, which I ended up talking with a couple people that I'm on a Discord with, Video Game Dust Sleeves, who you should check out their channel because they have amazing podcasts. And I'll be on an upcoming episode, and I'm in a previous episode, and even episodes without me are great. But we got into the ethics of reproduction and reproduction labels and things like that. Because I'll just get a label and I'll get a reproduction label and just put it on top, and that'll be that. We talked it through, and different people weighed in. And so what I decided to do was to keep a shell with the original label, which is banged up. I doubt you could even tell what the game is from there. Maybe you can see the lettering that's written on there. But I would get a new shell, put the board in that for my shelf, and get a repro label. And because it's an authentic board, and I just wanted it to look good on my shelf, and I'm cool with that. And if I ever go to sell it, I'll put it back in here so the original stuff goes with it, and it's not, adding to piracy out in the world or people buying things and not getting what they really think. But it is the actual board, and it's Mortal Kombat, Mega Man X3. That gives me all 3 of the Mega Man X games on Super Nintendo, and I'm really, really, really happy to have this in the collection because this is one, like I said, I have a certain threshold for where my stomach is okay for paying for certain games, and I was able to get this in a trade and able to make it look good for my shelf, and I'm just really happy to have it because, like I said, I didn't think I would. I now will probably get the rest of the Mega Man X games I don't have, which is 5 through 8, and we'll complete that. So really, really glad to have a copy of Mega Man X3 in the collection. Like I said, here's the original shell. So, and this will be on my shelf, and this will be in case I ever decide to part with it, but I'm not sure I will ever want to do that because that game means so much to me. And that does it for my pickups. If you have feelings about reproduction, cartridges, labels, cases, make sure to check out Video Game Dust Sleeves podcast. There will be an upcoming podcast on that subject in the future, which yours truly is on. If you are looking for some awesome podcasts, let me also recommend, once again, Move Over Kids YouTube channel. And Sunday nights, we do our weekly It's Dangerous to Go Alone podcast, where we talk about collecting and Nintendo news specifically. It's a really good time, so make sure to check those out. If you like this kind of content and unboxings, Wii U Game of the Month, Game Pass Game of the Month, make sure to hit that like button and give me a subscribe. And my friends, I hope you are staying safe, healthy, and well, and sane in these crazy trying times. And my friends, I will catch you on the next one. Peace.